use of result to return. I'm simply taking the age, adding 10 to it, and that value will be returned. At this stage, the blueprint is now created. I've created my class called tHuman, and I now need to utilize it. So let's now go onto the main form. I'm now on the form side, and I'm going to start making use of this unit 1, where I've created this tHuman class. On my form, I've already created some edit boxes to enter the name. I've got an edit box to enter the age, and these are all the different items that I needed to do. I needed to instantiate the object, display, get the age, set the age, and find the age in 10 years. All of which is inside of my class. So in order for me to make use of the information or the procedures and the functions that are in my class, I need to reference the unit of my class. So in the coding section of your unit for the form, this is on the form side, we now need to create a reference for unit 1. We add that to our users section. This then allows me to reference whatever is in the form, which is in the tHuman class, which is in unit 1. But in order to reference it, we first need to create a variable. So we create a global variable. The variable name is called objHuman, and it's of class tHuman, which is the class that we created. Through this object, we will access all of the methods and procedures and functions that we've written. So the first button on the form was to instantiate the object. Let's look at the code. Together with the form side, this is on the form side, I'm also representing what we have inside of the class for you to understand what's in the class and how we are using it. To instantiate the object means I need to call the constructor. So this is where we are calling the constructor. We are giving it values and initializing the attributes, their values. We call create, which is our constructor. Remember how we wrote create? Create wants 2 values, a name, and create wants an age, which we bring in. And once these values are brought in, they will then be assigned, and that's how the attributes get their values. So on the form side, we now get the values. I get a value for the name. I get a value for the age. Once I have those values, I call create with these values. That's the name and the age, which I just obtained from the previous 2 lines. And when I call create, these values are now sent to the parameters that we declared in our constructor. Recall I said that these receive. This is how they receive their values. And once they receive their values, those values are assigned to the attributes, and the attributes get the values that we are sending in. Let's look at the display. The display, this was on the unit in our tHuman class, the toString. Remember, recall we had headings, and we are returning through result. We are returning this, the name or the heading, the age or the heading, both on different lines. So having instantiated the object, which takes place here, we can now use it. So we use objHuman, and we simply call the toString method. The toString methods displays a heading with the name that was instantiated with, a heading with the age that it was instantiated with. And because this is a function, it returns a value, and I am able to display the value that's being returned in a rich edit. Let's look at the get age in the unit. Remember, get age was also a function. Whatever the age was, that was returned using result. So again, I call through my object obj human, I call get age, and because this returns an integer, I take the integer, I convert it into a string so that I can output it in a rich edit, and I put in a heading with that tells me the current age is. Then we had set age. In the unit, recall, in order to set the age, we needed a parameter, and that changes the attribute. So before I call my set age using my object, I first get an age. I'm using an input box. I get the age. There seems to be an error in my code. This should have had a string to int, because the input box returns a string. We need to take that string, convert it into an int, and then store it into the int variable. And then that integer value is sent to our parameter, which means the age has a value, and that is now set to fAge, which is my attribute. Take note, this is a procedure, set age. A procedure is simply called by its name through the object. We don't assign it to a variable, which is what we can do when we're calling a function, or we don't call it inside of a rich edit, which is what we've done with our previous two functions that we've called. The last function is the age in 10 years. This is how we wrote the function. We got the attribute, added 10 to it, and we are returning it using result. So when I call it, here is my object. Again, it's a function, so I can call it in a rich edit. Through my object, I call the function, and because it's returning a number, I do a conversion, and I also display a heading. This now concludes the coding of the form. Let's look at how this can work in Delphi. This is the project in Delphi. The one error that we had found has been corrected, and I can now run the application. My unit 1 has the code for the class, and unit 2 is my main form. It requires me to enter the name. I can enter a name. Let's enter age. The age is 10. So when I call instantiate object, remember the constructor is being called, and the attributes have now been assigned values. There was a show message that tells me that the object has been instantiated. When I click the display, remember the toString displays the heading with the name. On a new line, #13, you will recall the age heading with the actual age. If I say get age, it's just returning the age only. It had a heading to say the current age is, and it's displaying the age, which is currently 10. So let's go to set age, which allows me to change the age. There's my input box, enter the age. This is where the error I had in the code, which was changed. I click on OK. So at this stage, the new age has been set to 20. How can I tell that it's set to 20? If I click on get age again, you will now see that the current age is 20. If I display, it displays the name, which has not changed, and it displays the age, which is 20. I can now call the age in 10 years, and that now works the current age of 20 and says the age in 10 years is 30. I hope this application helps in getting you started with classes, with user-defined classes and objects.